Hi, friends. Back the feminist lawyer again, and this is part 2 of The Rise of American Fascism. Today's thinker is Ian Kershaw, and he wrote a history of early 20th century Europe called To Hell and Back, in which he outlined some of the usual characteristics of fascism, and we're going to go through them and see how they apply to American society today. Now, to preface, what Kershaw said is that these are common themes defining the extreme right-wing movements of the late 20s and early 30s, whether they called themselves fascist or not. And they're not all necessary, but they are all important. The first one is hyper-nationalism. Pretty sure we see this all over America. This is based on the cleansing of minority influences or foreign influences. This is kind of the MO of MAGA, Make America Great Again. This includes homophobia and xenophobia. Usually the people whose profile pictures have American flags and guns in them, or who within the first 4 words of describing themselves use the word patriot. These are the people that you really need to look out for. That is hyper-nationalism. America first type shit. Next is racial exclusiveness. Now, this is not just about ethnic minorities, but anything that is not a certain type. So in America, that would be anyone who is not a cis-het white person, especially a cis-het white Christian person. Anything that is outside of that is going to be oppressed. And whether they like to believe it or not, even the cis-het white Christian women are being oppressed because their bodily autonomy is taken away. But they don't want to believe it because they need to please the cis-het white Christian men and maintain their proximity to power. The next is the desire of total destruction of any political enemies. This is the refusal of discourse, including threats of violence and actual violence. Now, if I hadn't gone through and reported or blocked all of the threats that I had been getting on my TikTok page, you would be able to see a lot of examples of this. People who threatened me physically, who threatened the queer community physically, who talk about how they relish the death of other people, who they can't wait to kill for their causes. That's destruction of political enemies. People who were threatening to report me to the bar because they thought I was lying, stuff like that. They're trying to destroy any political enemy they have rather than engaging in discourse. Owning the libs. That's pretty much it. Number 4 made me laugh out loud. This is an emphasis on discipline, manliness, and militarism. This is guns, Jesus, and misogyny is what it is. This is a strong support of capital punishment, a strong support of, potentially, unfair and violent law enforcement, don't resist and you don't have a problem kind of folks. And this is intense homophobia. A lot of this, reminded me of those laws that are being passed in Florida that could, said that drag in front of a child, it was originally drafted to say that drag in front of a child would be considered a sex crime. And sex crimes against children are now punishable by execution in Florida. So, it's that kind of idea, calling men that are feminists names, Tucker Carlson and his testicle tanning, heavy militarism, you got to carry a big stick all the time, heavy military spending, that kind of deal. And perhaps amassing your own state army. That could be part of it. I'm looking at you, DeSantis. The next one is the creation of a new man or new society. This includes Christian nationalism, trying to create a national utopia, saying things like, this is a Christian nation and bring the kingdom to America. We need to fill this country with our Judeo-Christian values, even though this was a country that was literally founded on religious freedom. And yes, that includes freedom from religion. It's not just freedom of religion, it's also freedom from religion. The next includes imperialist goals. Now, this is not necessarily expansionist. It is just the homogenization of, all those around to the American way in this case. I've heard conservatives say that we need to annex Mexico. and make them part of America, instead of, respecting their sovereignty. That the Pilgrims civilized the Indians when they came over, the Native Americans. That, we brought them civilization and we brought them religion and made life better for them. These are also the folks that say that there were slaves that didn't want to be freed, that had a better life as slaves than they would have had in Africa, as if. And then, really the best example of modern imperialism in American history is the takeover of Hawaii. We walked in there and we outlawed their language. We deposed their queen. We imprisoned their queen. We completely disrespected their sovereignty, and we stopped teaching Hawaiian in schools, and Hawaiian is almost a dead language, because of America, because we homogenized them and we imperialized them. Thankfully, it's making a comeback, and the sort of native traditions and language and dance and food and things like that, they're going really strong down there, and I fully support that. The next one is corporatism, or oligarchy. This is amassing the materials among those in power and not moving them through society as the way capitalism intends. This is the elimination of trade unions and of worker protections, and, putting children back in factories. Looking at the Midwest, and Huckabee over there. Things like putting a person's personal value on how much money or work product that they generate. That's rampant all over the United States. There are people going, well, I'm not making any money, so I must not be worth anything. Well, I mean, that's just not true. That's just internalized capitalism eating away at your mental health. And as a result of this giant crush from the elite, from the top 1%, you're going to have rampant anti-capitalism spreading among the poor, because it's not working for them. The elite, the top 1%, are gaming capitalism in such a way to crush those below. So the people below start going, hey, this isn't working for us. So there's going to be anti-capitalism all over. And it's very strong in the United States. And another principle he talked about is the fact that fascism isn't just conservatism. It demands revolution, civil war. I have seen calls for civil war on my comment section. I see calls for civil war in the House of Representatives. Things like draining the swamp and removal of anyone who actually has experience in governance, and saying, oh, we need new blood. Now, here's a quote from Kershaw, and it's a little bit long, so I'm going to take it in pieces. He says, fascism's message of national renewal, powerfully linking fear and hope, was diverse enough to be capable of crossing social boundaries. Its message enveloped an appeal to the material vested interests of quite disparate social groups in a miasma of emotive rhetoric about the future of the nation. This is like, well, they're coming for your guns, and if they can do this to Trump, they can do it to you. It touched the interests of those who felt threatened by the forces of modernizing social change. So, the Democrats are trying to ruin America with their gayness and their socialism. It mobilized those who believed that they had something to lose: status, property, power, cultural tradition. Through the presumed menace of internal enemies. Again, it's the same thing. They're coming for your guns. They're coming for your livelihood. They're trying to make sure, they're trying to eliminate all the boomers. That's another one I've heard, is that Democrats and socialists want to kill off all the boomers. That was an interesting one to hear. This is especially against the advance of socialism and its revolutionary promise of a social revolution. Socialism is a scare word that is used by fascists. Well, you can't do that. That's socialism. Anytime you see something that's going to be supporting the common man, that's a threat to fascists. And at the end, he says, however, it is bound in the interests of a vision of a new society that would reward the strong, the fit, the meritorious, the deserving in their eyes. And in America, they only believe they're deserving: the rich, the white, the cis-het Christians. Anyway, so that is part 2 of how America is falling to fascism. I'll get some more thinkers and do some more analysis. Stay safe out there, friends. Keep fighting the good fight.